Welcome to First and Goal with Gregg and Freddy J, who bring you the scores, pregame predictions, and the latest sports news on the air. Gregg and Freddy J invite you to call in at 888-565-1470 and let them know how you feel about what's going on in the sports world. And now, here is First and Goal with Gregg and Freddy J, brought to you by Gift of Life Bone Marrow Foundation.
It's a long fly ball.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our second show, First and Goal with Gregg and Freddy J. How are you, Freddy?
I'm doing well, Gregg. How you doing?
Great. We're great and very, very happy to be here. I'm Gregg Francis, and alongside of me is my friend and co-host, Freddy J. At First and Goal, we attack all sports, inside and outside the lines. So we invite callers to call in at any time during our show at 1-888-565-1470. Again, challenge us at 1-888-565-1470. So, Freddy J, we have a lot on the docket today. Number one, we have to start figuring out who's going to make it to the postseason. It's what we consider the final lap of the NFL season, or the fourth quarter. A lot of people embarked in their fantasy football playoffs, either their semifinals, like Ken on the other side of the glass, or their finals, in fact, if they only go through Week 15. The college football playoffs were announced this week. In fact, on Sunday, Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, FSU. What's going on with the Big 12? We'll get to that later in the show. And last but not least, some off the field where we're going to go outside the lines with Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson, Marvin Lewis, and Cam Newton. We always have some good stories to dissect outside the lines. And last but not least, our weekly challenge where Freddy J and I pick games straight up, and the loser buys the winner a meal at Abe and Louie's. And Freddy J, you're off to the early lead.
I am. I'm very excited about this. I didn't expect to do that well, but I also thought that there was a couple of games that I should have won, and it came down to the last minute. We're talking about the Jets on that one.
I'm proud of you, and I just want to let our listening audience know that Abe and Louie's did get their old bread back, so even if I lose, we're in for a treat.
Yes.
Before we begin, though, Freddie, we have to thank our signature sponsor, Gift of Life Bone Marrow Foundation. Who is Gift of Life? Gift of Life is in Boca Raton. It's the 12th largest bone marrow registry in the world. What Gift of Life does is recruit healthy donors who will donate either peripheral blood stem cell or bone marrow to critically ill patients suffering from blood cancer. The patients that they help cannot find a match in their family, as only 30% of the people that have blood cancers could find a match in their family. So what happens? That's where Gift of Life comes in. Gift of Life runs over 1,000 drives per year, and to date, they saved over 3,000 lives of those critically ill, as well as the lives of their families. I encourage everyone to call Gift of Life and get involved. Freddie and I both work there. Call if you want to make a contribution. Call Joel and Anita at 1-800-9-MARROW. If you want to find out about our events, call Marty at 1-800-9-MARROW. And last but not least, if you want to get involved, swab, and save a life, Bridget and Nate are waiting by the phones as we speak. All monies received will go towards saving lives. And again, that's why we do what we do. So we have a wonderful sponsor on the show. They're located right here in Boca Raton. And we thank everybody there. So, Freddie, let's take it away and let's go outside the lines this week first.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm going to throw you some questions that are a little bit difficult in the world of football, and I want to take I want to get your opinion on this. Adrian Peterson, going to be 30 years old when the new season starts in 2015, as he's currently suspended. Where do you think he's going to end up, or do you think a team is going to pick him up?
That's a tough one. He's a great player. His history has proven that. But, the locker room is a very sensitive place on a football team. And if you you can't trust guys in the locker room, or guys do certain things in the locker room or off the field. That chemistry that a team needs isn't there, and I really wonder who's going to pick them up, and if they do pick them up, how it's going to affect the team. Now, when they're on the field, obviously, I don't think it has any impact. Mentally, they're all about playing the game. But after, going back into the locker room, you have the media always asking you questions. How is Adrian Peterson doing today? And, it gets on people's nerves.
He's 30 years old. You could say that the year away from football leaves less wear and tear on his body. The question that bears asking is the one that if I could echo your sentiment, do people want that type of baggage? And will opponents, let's face it, football is a nasty game. Will they go to take out his knees because he hit a 4-year-old, for our listening audience that may not be familiar, with a switch, which is a very flexible branch. And he said that that's how he was punished. And what happened is he switched his child, which gave him open bruises on his legs, his buttocks, and his genitals, and he was arrested and found to have a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
So at this point, does a coach want to deal with all the questions of questionably hiring a child abuser to play football? For any of those that are sponsored by major corporations, that may come into play. Maybe the sponsors will drop them.
Yeah, I mean, you can take it. You can look at Tiger Woods when he had that scandal come down with all the different women he's been with. His sponsors dropped him immediately. They didn't want anything to associate with him. And I feel the same thing for Adrian Peterson and any team that picks him up. You have that. This is business, and money talks. So when you bring somebody on that has that history, it changes the locker room. It changes the organization, and you really have to sit down and think about what they're actually planning to do. So,
well, I'm laughing, and to add a little levity, you talk about Tiger Woods with the women. I believe that he fathered 7 children from they can't even Adrian Peterson by at least 5 or 6 different women. Couple that with the child abuse, I think that it's a recipe for disaster. However, I do think a needy team at tailback will take a flyer on him.
And we joke about this every week, but the Jets are actually one of those teams that they love a circus. They love to have that controversy. You bring in Michael Vick and you get rid of Sanchez, and you have a quarterback kind of dispute. I can see a running back dispute.
I can't see. I think Woody Johnson's going to play it too close to the vest with Johnson and Johnson. But staying on the running back foray, Ray Rice is actually now eligible to come back for the final stretch, and he's not getting really any bites. What's your take?
I don't think he's getting any bites for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, like we said, teams have a certain chemistry. They're already close to the playoffs. They don't want to mess that up. Bringing a fresh-legged Ray Rice onto a team may make a difference, but at what cost? In the locker room,
point.
Again, the chemistry in the locker room, it changes the dynamics of the team. And then you're bringing in somebody that hasn't, well, we don't know if he's been working out, but he's not game ready. I don't believe he is. He hasn't been hit in how many weeks,
No, he hasn't been hit in a while. They said that he had a wonderful training camp, but last year his production declined steadily. He was averaging about 3.1 a pop, where 4 is supposed to be the benchmark.
Yeah.
He just did not have a good season. He looked like he had old legs.
He looked tired.
So would a team not in need and not in playoff contention want that circus? The answer is no. Conversely, would a team that is in playoff contention, to use your term, it's going to disrupt the chemistry of the ball club. I don't think he's going to get picked up this season, and I would say for him 50-50 next year if somebody's going to take a flyer on him. Maybe he'll get an invitation to a training camp.
Yeah, I believe he'll definitely get a couple of invitations to training camps. Teams want to see him work out. He's going to play football in the summer. But I don't even know if he makes the team or makes a team.
I'm going to say 50-50. I think that we did the research. He's going to be 29 when the season starts. I believe his birthday's in January. So the 2015 season, he's 29 years old. And you know the winter age for running backs is 30 when you're considered over the hill, which Adrian Peterson's going to be. So do you bring in a 29-year-old running back with declined production, with all that baggage, and the video went viral when he knocked his now wife, his fiance at the time, unconscious.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope for their sake they're working out everything. I do, though, however, and it's something that we were going to touch upon last week, but we didn't have the time. I disagree with the way that Roger Goodell punished him.
I agree.
Okay. I think let me go on record as saying it was completely reprehensible what he did. However, Roger Goodell met with Ray Rice and Janae Rice, and they spoke, and he gave them initially he gave Ray Rice a 2-game suspension. After that, people were outraged. Sponsorships were leaving, public outcry, and then Goodell suspended him indefinitely once he saw the video.
Yeah.
It's like they're making punishments and rules on the fly, and there's no consistency. What again, Frederick? It was reprehensible what Ray Rice did, but I think the arbitrator ruled correctly that if you give somebody a punishment, you legislate that punishment. You can't just arbitrarily start switching from 2 games to 8 games to. It's not a team. It's not an owner or a GM or a coach kicking somebody off the team. It's the commissioner of a league giving a 2-game suspension, and then when the proverbial hit the fan, starts changing to a indefinite suspension, and then an arbitrator ruled in Ray Rice's favor.
And I think that in Ray Rice's defense, I think the arbitrator did the right thing, reinstating him. That doesn't mean he's going to play. That doesn't mean he's going to get on a team. And if he does get on a team, you can take an example as Michael Vick. He did his time. He was in the wrong. He apologized. He goes to New York. They hate him in New York. Some people love him as a football player, but as a person, they're still saying that, he's a dog killer, all those things. It sticks around with you. And with Ray Rice, I don't see this going away, and I don't see a team wanting to put up with it.
I'm going to agree with one thing that you say and respectfully disagree. If he was a decent quarterback in New York, I think of the dogfighting episode, which again is reprehensible as well, I think that would be on the back burner because there's a lot of things, i.e. Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice. I mean, it's always going to be a major footnote in his biography, what he did, whether that was the culture in the area in which he lived. I don't buy any of that nonsense. However, will people take a crack now on Michael Vick? It's 3-4 years removed. He was with Philadelphia a couple of years, and
he did well there.
He did well. Again, with any other, I think, rational coach, with the exception of Rex Ryan, if he admits to the media that he wasn't prepared as a backup to play, Rex Ryan compliments him. Any other coach would kick him off the team. Could you see Belichick saying, "I admire you for mentioning that"? I hear Ken laughing on the other side of the glass.
Respectfully, I don't think Belichick would have made the trade.
Let's put that in perspective. So again. That was interesting. Again, so your final whistle, is he going to be taken, or will he be playing in an NFL uniform next year?
My gut says no, but I have to go with what works and what talks. It's money, and I feel that a team's going to pick him up and try to utilize him in some way to sell jerseys, whatever they want to do, but I think he does make a team.
I think AP makes a team. I think Ray Rice goes as a free agent. And I think he goes, I don't believe that he's going to be picked up. All right, we had some other interesting stuff in the news. Let's comment a little bit on Marvin Lewis. This was a cute comment.
Please read the comment, because I kind of find it a little comical, and we'll get more into it, but go ahead.
Okay. Marvin Lewis, to put this in context, Cincinnati is playing Cleveland this weekend. So they're both, Cleveland is on life support, and they're starting, in fact, Johnny Manziel. So it's the beginning of the Manziel era.
Johnny Football.
Welcome
to the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL, and I'm actually excited about that. Cincinnati is 8-4-1, and they really they lost a tough game. Pittsburgh just really was all over them. Red Rifle just didn't have a good game, and
But they're still in contention.
no. They're in the driver's seat at 8-4-1. The rest of the division 8-5. Pittsburgh 8-5. Baltimore 7-6. Cleveland. So they don't have a lot of breathing room. So when the question was asked, since Manziel is a mobile quarterback, the question was posed, and I'm paraphrasing, to Marvin Lewis, the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. The question was, how do you defend Johnny Manziel? He said, and I quote, "You got to go defend the offense. You don't defend the player." And he takes a pause, and he says, particularly a midget. Now, Johnny, I wish I had Johnny Manziel's height at about 5'11" and a half. Freddie, you and I are about 5'6", so I think
on a good day,
on a good day, we're about 5'6" and change. But the question is, he apologized profusely. It's a slang term for little people. He's obviously mocking Manziel's height because the prototypical quarterback is at least 6'2", and Manziel's probably 6 feet in cleats. But coaches have to be coaches are scrutinized with every word that they say. And again, are we in an age where we're so politically correct? The answer is yes. Is it a derogatory term? There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but come on, people. Really?
No. I have heard worse things said.
Oh, they're
But
definitely.
if you're the representation of an organization in the term of a head coach, and there's only 32 of them in the NFL, so it's even in football, you have backups. You don't have a backup head coach. You have to be so austere in what you say. Why is he bringing locker room, bulletin board material on a locker room? Usually players get fined if they do that by their coaches.
I agree with that.
So
yeah.
why is a coach doing that when they're in the middle of a playoff battle? That just befuddles me more than the word that he said.
I think it's a mental game, and I think it's more trying to get in the head of Johnny Manziel and the Cleveland football locker room rather than actually making fun of him. I don't think he meant it in the way that everyone's taken it. He apologized for it.
He apologized profusely. I don't believe that he. You know what? I don't know what he was thinking. The words did come out of his mouth. Was it a little bit of an afterbrush of really getting beaten down by Pittsburgh? I think
he might have been a little frustration, but
and then you're talking about how do you defend this person, and the whole Cincinnati conversation turned into one player, Johnny Manziel. Coaches have to take a deep breath when they face the media and not get baited by the questions that they ask.
Yeah.
The media is trying to bait these coaches to give them, bulletin board materials, something to write.
I mean, they want headlines, and I guess that's a headline in Cleveland.
And Marvin Lewis is a devout Christian.
He's a great coach.
He's
great
a
man.
great coach, great guy, and he slipped up here, and he certainly apologized profusely. Do you think it has affect on the team that he's going to be questioned about it all week?
I definitely think he's going to be questioned on it all week. I think the media in today's day and age doesn't know how to let things go, and they burn things out all week long. So,
when they go into the dog pound on Sunday, there's going to be so many signs pointed at Marvin Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
It's just another hurdle for Cincinnati, who hasn't been playing great football. So we'll see how that one shakes out. And last but not least, in the news today, we heard that Cam Newton got into a car accident. He's in the hospital right now, and he fractured 2 bones in his back. They said right now that he's questionable. I cannot see him playing. I don't know really. Technically, they're on life support in the NFC South just because somebody has to win that division.
Yeah. And they're playing so well in the last couple of weeks. I know their record doesn't show it, but last week's game, they took a team, the New Orleans Saints, and they made them look like a high school team. And that's hard to do in the NFL.
But then the week before, New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees throws 5 touchdowns. I'm sure some fantasy owners are quite pissed off right now. But each week it's its own chapter because you have a 7, some days a 4-day, but usually a 7-day layover. and you have 16 different chapters in a book. So I know that we're coming across a hard break, but here's what I want to go over on the other side of the hour. We have, I want to dissect that Philly-Seattle game. It was telling about the most prolific offense, maybe next to Green Bay, but Philly and Chip Kelly's high-powered offense against the Legion of Boom in Seattle's defense. Last night, Green Bay and Atlanta, I think the score is a little misleading, and I'm going to tell you why, Frederick. And for our listening audience, our favorite team finds a new way to lose every week, and this week they did it in extra time.
Oh yeah, they I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
But you want to know something I do like, and for those that are listening for the first time, we're avid Jet fans in South Florida. They played Minnesota, and we're going to tell you how they lost that game. That was a great Rex Ryan call. So on the other side of the glass, on the other side of this break, we'll dissect those games, get into the college playoffs, and we'll go over our weekly picks.
Yeah, so don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Are you in the market for a health plan? If so, please visit my good friend Gary at Health Plans Unlimited. No plan is too big or too small. Gary will customize a plan that's affordable and comprehensive, just for you. If you're interested, please visit Gary Goldman, the best in the biz, at www.healthplansunlimited.com. Again, that's www.healthplansunlimited.com. Or you can call Gary Goldman directly on his personal line at 954-303-6676. Again, that's 954-303-6676. And tell him that Gregg sent you directly from the Gift of Life. Health Plans Unlimited. We have the health plan for you. We want to extend a special thanks to our friends at the Boca West Foundation for all the wonderful work they do for Gift of Life and for all the meaningful service they give to the Boca Raton community. For over 3 years, the Boca West Foundation has generously supported local charities in the Boca Raton area. The Boca West Foundation. It's all about the kids. If you own a business and have the need for commercial insurance, I suggest you call Chris Moore of Brown & Brown Insurance in Fort Lauderdale. Chris has been in the commercial insurance business for over 30 years and can handle any company's need for property, general liability, workers' compensation, and automobile, just to name a few. Brown & Brown, being countrywide and the 5th largest agency in the country, gives Chris the tools he needs to meet all your insurance needs. So call Chris at 954-331-1420. Again, that's 954-331-1420.
ThrowItBetter.com. Do you need help with your bowling game? Are you taking the right 5-step approach? If you want to become a competitive bowler, even a recreational bowler that's considering joining a league, or a league bowler that is considering joining a tournament, you need to see Vince. He's going to show you how to throw it better. He'll get you the right equipment. He'll show you the right approach. And as a certified coach, he'll put you in the best position to succeed. If you're interested, please contact Vince at throwitbetter@gmail.com and tell him that Gregg sent you. Again, that's throwitbetter@gmail.com. Or call Vince at 954-541-5414.
Strike three! You're out!
You're listening to First and Goal with Gregg and Freddy J. This show is brought to you by Gift of Life Bone Marrow Foundation. Call and share the gift of life. Become a donor today. Now, back to our hosts, Gregg and Freddy J.
It's a long fly ball.
Good evening, Boca. We're back. First and Goal with Gregg and Freddy J. I'm Freddy J here with Gregg Francis. And we're talking inside, outside, upside down, inside out. We're talking about football tonight. A little recap. We've talked about Adrian Peterson coming back. We talked about Ray Rice coming back. Cam Newton in the hospital, unfortunate.
Yeah, our well wishes are certainly with him.
And his families. Marvin Lewis, his comment, a little uncalled for, kind of comical. Are we too politically correct as a country, as a society?
Yeah,
Probably.
Probably, but as the head coach, just recapping, Freddie J, why does the head coach put bulletin board when they're fighting for a playoff position?
I think he had a mental fart, a brain fart is what they call it.
A meltdown.
Yeah, he said the line after he took a pause, so he thought about it and still said it anyway. So I think he just judgment call. I think he would take that one back.
Yeah, he profusely apologized. So
before we continue, I want to give out the number one more time. If you guys want to call in and talk about anything about sports, the number here is 888-565-1470. Again, it's 888-565-1470. Give us a call. Tell us your thoughts. And right now, we're going to talk a little bit about what we saw in last week's games. Seattle Eagles first.
All right, let's go back inside the lines, Freddie. Philly and Seattle. So you're talking about potentially the first or second most prolific offense in the NFL. You can make an argument that the way that Green Bay has been clicking that they may be first, but certainly Philly runs the most plays. They have the most high-powered offense. They have Chip Kelly as their head coach from Oregon.
They have a lot of weapons.
They run an average of about 75 offensive plays a game. So here's where I'm going to tell you something. The adage, offense wins games and defense wins championships.
I like that saying.
Yeah, so Seattle's on their way. Now, this high-powered offense, I did some research, Frederick, and Sanchez was held to 96 yards passing, and with Shady McCoy, Darren Sproles, and Polk, they were held to 57 yards rushing. If my math is correct, that's a total of 153 yards total offense from scrimmage.
I'm sorry, that's not going to win a football game.
No, that's about 1/3 of their general total offense for a week. And Seattle took it to them in every which way. Special teams, defense, and offense.
Well, I was going to say, Sanchez, we talked about this last week. We thought he was on a curve of, maybe getting over 10 interceptions in a game. He threw another one last week. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but, the mistakes, you got to cut them back if you expect to win football games, especially if you're not moving the ball down the field.
No, they weren't moving the ball, and again, we iterated in the last segment that we're both, fanatical Jet fans, so Sanchez gave us a lot of laughs and a lot of scratching our heads, but I don't want to put this one on him. I think that Chip Kelly has to adopt his offense to more of a professional style, especially if they're going to throw the 8 men in the box as Seattle did most of the time. Sanchez, I believe, got sacked 3 times, but he was getting hit every which way. Ever since Carpenter came back, and you have Earl Thomas and you have Sherman that was, mirroring Jeremy Maclin the whole game. Cam Chancellor, their secondary is just fierce. So the point that I wanted to talk about, Seattle ran for 188. I mean, they ran the ball down Philly's throat with the beast, Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, what a beast.
And Russell Wilson passed for 263 yards. So you're talking about a defensive team putting up over 450 yards of offense. And people have to stop saying that Russell Wilson is a game manager. He's a top 5 NFL quarterback.
He's got a Super Bowl ring. I mean, what else do you want from him?
He doesn't make mistakes. He's mobile. He has a strong arm, and he doesn't have the most prolific wide receiving talent around him. His number 1 target is Doug Baldwin, who was undrafted from Stanford. So it's not like they have a
top
Julio
receiving
Jones
core,
and A.J. Green and Des Bryant.
They have a very average but very strong core. They have the chemistry is there, obviously. And he, like you said, he doesn't turn the ball over, and if he does, the other teams don't capitalize as well as the Seahawks do. So,
you know something, you had a triumvirate of quarterbacks that played a little bit the same way. You have a Kaepernick, you have an RG3, and you have a Russell Wilson. 2 of them make unnecessary mistakes because Colin Kaepernick is on a downward trajectory. RG3, through so many coaches, offensive coordinators, being benched, being started, he can't stay healthy. They probably shouldn't have played him when he was playing on one ankle, but nonetheless, they're talking about walking him out of not walking, running him out of Washington.
Yeah, and you know where he might go?
Yeah, I read about that. We'll go into that in a little bit. I hope that we draft a different quarterback. That being said, right now Seattle looks so strong. The question is, can they stop Green Bay's offense? And I want to parlay into that game, Frederick. Last night on Monday Night Football, the final score was 43-37, and Freddie, I think the score was deceiving.
Oh, definitely deceiving.
And I'm going to tell you why. The score was 31-7 at halftime.
Green Bay led up.
We spoke about that last week, where this is not Pop Warner football.
You got to step on the throat, yes.
You step on the throat and put up 60 on them.
Green Bay, I don't know. They're feeling generous. It's the giving mood.
I know it's the giving season, but they could have given away a game. But here we go. Rodgers goes 24-36, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Pack ran between Lacey and Starks for another 179 yards. So they're going over 500 yards total offense. And I'm going to make a proclamation here. I'm 45 years old. I've been watching football avidly since I'm 10. Ken on the other side of the glass may disagree, but I believe in my years of watching football that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback that I've ever seen. I'm going to preface this by saying that it's a much more quarterback-friendly league.
It's a passing league.
It's a passing league, so we're comparing errors to errors. He has the mobility. He has a turnover ratio, four touchdowns to each interception. The closest after that, I believe, is Brady at about 2-1.
Yeah.
So he just blows everybody out of the water in that respect. He's mobile enough to have to keep you honest against the run. And he has escapability factor. He has a gun, and he reads his progressions unlike anybody that I've ever seen. Now, I certainly sung the praises of Green Bay. I'm not sold on their run game, but they use that screen bubble almost like a run.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, defense wins championships, and when your quarterback is playing better defense than the other team, not giving the ball up, you're going to win. And that's how it's going to be.
They control the ball where most teams do it through a run. They do it through short screen passes.
Yeah.
And it was just, I think it epitomized, it was a beautiful game last week that unfortunately we couldn't touch on, the Green Bay, New England, which people said that may be a precursor to the Super Bowl. When he had to make the pivotal pass to Randall Cobb, he made it. Brady, I thought, played an exceptional game there as well. But let's talk about Atlanta, who put up a ridiculous amount of offense. Julio Jones, I think, put up over 250 yards receiving.
He almost broke a record last night.
He almost broke a record last night. They're long of tooth in the running game. Steven Jackson, Jacquizz Rodgers, Roddy White's a nice complimentary receiver. I can't fathom why Atlanta is so bad.
I think it might be defense. When Green Bay puts up 43 points on you and they let up.
But Green Bay puts on everybody. Just take a look at this division for a second. So the beauty of it is that somebody has to win, and probably that somebody will have under a 500 record.
I think the Falcons take it at 7-9.
I think 7-9 will get you in, and funny enough, 7-9 will host a playoff game.
Yeah.
However, I think it's boom or bust for Mike Smith, the coach of Atlanta. If they do not make the playoffs with the talent that he has, I believe that Arthur Blank, the owner, is going to, give him the pink slip on what we call Black Monday. That's the Monday after the last regular season. His seat is definitely
warm. And the funny thing is he's leading the division. So
he's leading the division, and even if they got knocked out the first round, I can't see him coming back to coach another season. So that was that. It was an entertaining offensive game. I think that if they played another quarter and they said to Aaron Rodgers, you don't have to run it so much, start playing around with it.
I was surprised they just didn't bench him in the second half.
I almost saw it 31-7, and as fantasy owners and owning Aaron Rodgers on my team, I was hoping that he was going to play.
Yeah.
So it turned out that he had another nice day for me. The last one, just because of personal preference, we'll talk about the Jets Miami, and I apologize, we won't talk about the Jets as often because I think that three of the fans here, two of them are sitting in the room. But,
Yeah.
but we'll go back and we'll talk about this anyway. I'm a huge Teddy Bridgewater fan. I was a huge fan of his in Louisville. He reminds me a little bit of Russell Wilson as a young quarterback that knows how to take care of the football. Granted, his TD to interception ratio is not great, but I think as time matures, he's going to be able to control the ball, make smart passes, and read defenses very, very well.
I think, if Adrian Peterson was there, it would have made a bigger impact. The run game would definitely have cut down on his errors.
Yeah, it would have. And for any young quarterback, they're going to hopefully rely on it, except it wasn't necessarily the case with Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
But Teddy Bridgewater wasn't expected to play this year, albeit he was a first-round pick from Louisville. He was supposed to come in and watch Cassell. He got hurt, and then Christian Ponder from Florida State got hurt. So he's thrown into the fray. I think he did a real nice job right now. Regarding Minnesota, I don't know what happened with Cordarrelle Patterson. He just couldn't hold on to the football every kick that was on the kickoff returns. I know that he fumbled one, almost fumbled another. And I thought that he was the type of player that was going to end up being a game breaker. The Jets. You go to the red zone 5 times and you can't punch it into the end zone.
Well, that's been the Cinderella story all year.
It's not even Cinderella. Cinderella's shoe broke. I mean, Cinderella's shoe has broken. I could tell you what they're going to happen. If they're on the 4-yard line, they're going to pretend that they're going to do a play action, but the ball's going to go to Chris Ivory, and his head's going to go like a bobblehead. He'll get knocked down at the 2. They'll try it again. He'll lose a yard, and then Geno will throw it out of the end zone trying to hit somebody.
I think you've watched a lot of Jet games, and that's pretty accurate because it's almost every time.
No, it's every time. I don't know the nuances of being a defensive coordinator, but any team that plays the Jets for their in the red zone, I could call their defense and be extremely successful. People listening, we're pretty good at getting to the 20, so if you're still in fantasy contention, you may want to draft Nick Folk. There's a pretty good chance that he's going to kick, 3, 4, 5 field goals.
Yeah, and that could be the difference between winning a fantasy game and losing a fantasy game.
So, Frederick, are you still in your fantasy season?
I like to say I am, but realistically, I'm not. I was in last place all season. I went 2-10 with a tie, and I won my game last night.
Oh, congratulations!
So I didn't come in last. I came into second to last, and we have a losers bracket, so I'm still in that, but I'm not really paying attention.
But you're 3-10, so you have a better record than the Jets. I was going into my semifinals, and I was losing, but if you're listening in Atlanta, Julio Jones, thank you, because you pushed me into the semifinals. My brother, who became an avid fantasy football fan this year, I hope you're listening, Andy, he's unfortunately out of the playoffs. He needed Aaron Rodgers to score 50. Aaron Rodgers put up a game, but he didn't exactly do it. So I'm going to give you my team so you can root for it next week. So
yeah, I have to tip my hat to Julio Jones. He was willing the Atlanta Falcons back into that game by himself. It seemed like he was putting the team on his shoulders.
He was playing like a man possessed.
Yeah, and it would have made a big difference if if they all played that way in the first half of the game rather than the second half. But I do believe Green Bay did let up a little bit.
I think that that's a lesson to learn. It was a good win and it was a good lesson. Another quick one, and I was impressed last week in the last minute with the Indianapolis Colts. That's a game against Cleveland that they should have won. They almost lost, but they ended up winning. And that's what is the difference between a good team and a mediocre team.
Good teams find the way to win.
Yeah. Denver, I thought Peyton Manning played horrific, but they did what they had to do against Buffalo. Again, we spoke about them last week. I think he's coming into not even autumn anymore, the winter years of his career.
I disagree because I think Peyton Manning is one of those players that is a devoted player. He's in that locker room watching game film, probably up until the game. He knows the defenses. He knows how to read them. He just had a couple bad weeks. I think he's going to bounce back, and I really believe he's the favorite for the AFC. I don't think the Patriots can stop him and the Denver Broncos.
I don't know how Belichick does it with the Jonas Grays of the world. He just plugs in people. LeGarrette Blount, that was on Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago. Now he's scoring 2 touchdowns for the Patriots. He goes around the system. Tom Brady is arguably in the top, not even arguably, he is in the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league. He's absolutely fantastic. Do they have a receiving core? No. They have a nice player in Julian Edelman, but again, they have Gronkowski. How they continue to win is really beyond me. I think Revis is having a very understated Pro Bowl season. Such a phenomenal cornerback for my money, better than Richard Sherman. Better, he's the top cornerback in the league. And again, that set on the defense, that cuts off half the field. So therefore, I think that New England right now is my pick to get to the Super Bowl, and we're heading into Week 15. But something that we know is a fact right now, as opposed to speculation, Frederick, is the 4-team college playoffs. So let's talk about that a little bit. Alabama being ranked number 1, the high-flying Oregon Ducks being number 2, the team that hasn't lost in 2 years, the Florida State Seminoles, being number 3, and Ohio State putting a 59-0 drubbing on Wisconsin, who is ranked 19.
To get into number 4. They had to do it.
Right. Now you have the Big 12 that, it's a decent argument, but if they want to play with the big boys, you have to have a championship game. So either TCU or Baylor could have separated themselves, and made an argument, but I don't see how you leave Ohio State out of the mix after they put up a 59-0 drubbing. And
I believe that's what really got them in. I don't think they would have made it. If the game was closer, I don't think they would have made it.
Even if they would have won and I think the game was closer, I don't think that they were getting in. Florida State doesn't pass the eye test for me, but they haven't lost in 2 years.
They haven't lost, so you got to put them in somewhere,
So even in years past where they would have had the AP poll, and we're not talking about Adrian Peterson, but Associated Press, they would have been, because they're undefeated, they would have stayed number 1. They were preseason number 1. So here's the question, Frederick. The first game, Alabama, the Crimson Tide playing Ohio State with their third-string quarterback. Who do you believe wins?
I'm going to take Alabama.
I love Amari Cooper. Yeldon's not doing it for me that much this year, and I certainly seen Alabama vulnerable. Ohio State, third-string quarterback. They just put a drubbing on. However, with 2 great coaches, I just like the experience a little bit better with Alabama, so I agree with you. Oregon and FSU.
Well, we are in Florida.
Yes.
They're undefeated.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Oregon.
That was good. We're in Florida, and they haven't lost in 2 years. They have the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Jameis Winston, and I'm going to say that Oregon's going to probably win by 21-28.
I think it's going to be one of those games where you see Jameson become human. Over the last year, you've noticed he hasn't been playing to that Heisman caliber player. They're still winning. He's finding ways to win, but he's not playing well.
No, he's not playing well, and plus they're starting tailback. I think Carlos Williams Jr. is out, so I like Oregon. I don't even think this game's going to be close. Watch, FSU wins by a field goal, but I think with the high-powered offense and Marcus Mariota, there's no which way that it's going to be close.
So you think it's Oregon, Alabama, and
yes.
Where do you see that game going?
I just think that Oregon's offense is just going to blow. I saw Auburn put up 44 points. In fact, I watched that game with my mom over Thanksgiving, Auburn, Alabama. So I think that Marcus Mariota's he's going to win the Heisman. He's just too tough to stop. My guess, Frederick, is Oregon beats Alabama in the grand finale by 10.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a pick. I don't really think I'm qualified to pick at this point because I don't really know if Oregon was going to beat FSU. Like we said, you never know. But I think we all agree that Alabama is probably getting in.
Yeah, put it in the books. Oregon's going to win. All right. So now we dissected the college playoffs. The picks this week, Frederick, I have to tip my cap to you. You're winning our contest where the loser buys the winner lunch at Avon Louis, and I did give them a plug. Maybe they'll give us a free lunch. That they got their old bread back, and my mom never ate there, so I want to invite her also. It's got great lunches, great steaks, great chicken sandwiches, and really, really good food. So, Freddie went 11-5 this week,
I did.
and I'm very proud of you. Gregg went 9-7. And it looks like this week, Frederick, that we only have 2 games that are different. So let's just tell our listening audience who we picked. Arizona at St. Louis. St. Louis has not given up a point in 2 games. And that's the first time since 1945 that this has happened.
They're on a bit of a hot streak.
Okay, you went with Arizona. I'm going to go with St. Louis on this one. I think their defense is flat awesome. Long is back. Their draft pick from Mathis from UNC. Their front line is ferocious. I'm going to go Rams. You went Cardinals. And they're playing in St. Louis.
Yeah, I still like the Cardinals. They're one of my favorite teams this year. They're showing a lot of potential. But it's towards the end of the season. I don't know if they're going to be hanging around like they used to be. In the beginning of the season, they look very, very strong.
No. They beat the Chiefs, so you're going Cardinals. I'm going Rams at home. Okay, Pittsburgh versus Atlanta. You like...
I like Pittsburgh in this one.
Yeah, and I like Atlanta, although I'll preface it, I got a tip because I don't know if Julio Jones is playing, but...
Yeah, but no, they have to win. Like we said, they need
somebody
seven.
Somebody
they have to go 7-9.
Yeah, somebody has to win that division by default. So we're going... so you're going Pittsburgh, and I'm going Atlanta on this one.
I think Pittsburgh's big game last week changes my vote in their favor this week.
What about Le'Veon Bell? My gosh.
He's an animal.
He's going to be the first or second running back off the board next year. You could argue Jamal Charles.
Oh, yeah.
But for fantasy, I know that Ken is watching. I love Le'Veon Bell. Thank you also. He's done very, very well for my fantasy, and I got him in the 4th round. Green Bay against Buffalo, we both agree.
Green Bay.
Cincinnati against Cleveland, albeit with all this bulletin board material, we still think that Cincinnati goes into the dog pound.
And I think Cincinnati wins because of the change in quarterbacks so late in the season. You put faith in one man, and the Jets are a prime example. You put faith in one man, and then you see that the locker room changes. When you're a starting quarterback on a team, you are the captain. You're basically the go-to guy. You're the heart and soul of the offense. And when you don't have faith in your quarterback, you're pretty much telling your offense you don't have faith in your offense.
Yeah.
So they don't take that too kindly. But I think Johnny Manziel makes a lot of mistakes in this game.
Very, very interesting. I'm telling you, Hoyer has had a month of terrible play. Not bad play, terrible play. But normally in week 15, with a rookie, you normally ride the person that you went to the dance with.
And you're still in contention. They're not out. They have to win out. And you're putting a lot of faith in your rookie. And I understand that that's the path they're going on in the future. And they want to see if he can actually pull out the big game. But why are you going to do it so close to the playoffs?
I don't know. I give Pettin credit. You want to know something? It's 4 weeks. He's pulling the trigger. They are on life support, so they have the capability of potentially winning. Let's give it a shot, see what he does. I'm interested in watching that game just for Manziel. He has the it power.
I agree there.
They call it the Q factor.
The Q factor.
Yes.
I do believe he knows how to fire up a team, and when Johnny Manziel starts running his mouth and they start winning, I think it's going to be hard to stop Cleveland. I think it's a great opportunity for him, but I really don't see it happening against Cincinnati, who has to go in there and they need a win. I just don't think it's going to happen for the Browns.
Again, if I was in a confidence pool, this wouldn't be my most confident pick, but I'm going to go with you on this one. Vikings, Lions. Lions have too much to play for, I think. Frederick, we both agree with that. And Stafford and Megatron are doing quite well. Their run game, though, is atrocious.
They're lacking in the run game, but Megatron is back. And they're putting up some points. And I don't think, watching Minnesota last game against the Jets, they barely squeak out a win there. I don't think they beat Detroit.
I don't either. I think great points. So we still got a few minutes left. Freddie, Houston, which I know is one of your favorite teams, is going to the Colts.
Yeah, I'm kind of giving up on Houston. They have looked better in the last couple of weeks, but I think the Colts pull it out. They just have the offense. Their defense is starting to come around. I don't think Houston is healthy enough. With Arian Foster still kind of moving with a limp, and he's not putting up the numbers
against
so.
Jacksonville. It's like an exhibition game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my Florida brethren, but I agree with you there. Okay, Oakland at the Chiefs.
I laugh because if Oakland win, well, I think Oakland's 3-11 now.
No, not that good. They're 2-11.
They're 2-11. I want to say. Well, I want them to go 3-11 because I want the Jets. I want the Jets to lose out.
Yeah.
They get the first round pick. I'm gonna go with obviously the Chiefs on this one, but last week surprised me. Maybe they don't want first round pick. Maybe they want to prove that they can be better than the Jets. So.
I think you and I potentially have a good chance of being San Francisco's next head coach next year, as opposed to Jim Harbaugh. I see him on the first plane out of there. That's between Balky, the general manager, him, the general manager's daughter's tweeting. They're just
they're a mess.
Get to them. Yeah,
they're a mess.
We'll get to them in a little bit. And Kaepernick just hasn't progressed the way that we thought. So we both agree on the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Patriots.
My gut tells me to go with New England, and I always go with my gut. But there's something about Miami, about this team, that I feel that is. I mean, they have beaten New England this year already. They have a good chance at beating him again, but I think it's in New England's favor because New England is home.
This is our home territory, Miami, and Dolphins fans don't hate me, but my gut and my head are telling me to go with the Patriots, so I'm going to go with the Patriots.
It's very hard to win there, so.
All right, Redskins, Giants.
Well, I'm going to go with the Giants. They had a great game last week, and I don't think the Redskins are healthy enough, as a team, to beat the Giants. And the Giants aren't a very strong team this year, so I'm going with the Giants.
And I think, unfortunately, it's Tom Coughlin, who's the oldest coach in the NFL. I think that this is his swan song. I think at the end of the season,
he might retire. I think the Giants are a very classy organization, and he's a very classy individual. I think he does it with class. I think he might retire at the end of the year. I don't think they force him out.
I hope that they don't force him out. I think that if he chooses not to retire, he will be forced out. It's just too many years of inconsistency. Washington, the big question that I want to tackle with you, Freddie, over the next couple of shows, is Jay Gruden a one and done? I mean, they gave up so much to get RG3. Who's going to be the last man standing, RG3 or Jay Gruden? So let's keep our eye out on that. Buccaneers and Panthers, one of the teams has to win.
Well, I'm actually changing my pick. My initial pick was Carolina, but after the events of this week, or today, Cam Newton being injured, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Okay, I'm going to go with Carolina, but I really hope that Tampa Bay wins. That's another one
that's another one we need to win.
The Jets, as we say, suck for the Ducks, so we could hopefully get Marcus Mariota with our first pick. Okay, we're going now Jacksonville Ravens. I don't think we have to talk about this one too much.
No.
Okay. The big game of the 2-11 teams, the Jets and the Titans.
I want the Titans to win, but the Jets are their own worst enemy. They win the week that they should lose because I feel the other teams will all win and pull it out. I'm going to go with the Jets.
Okay, I'm going to pick the Jets to win. We have to figure out this way how they're going to lose it this week, but we will pick the Jets to win.
I think that's probably the best question is how will they lose it this week?
Yeah, that's a better one. We're almost at the 2-minute warning because we're getting the whistle. So let's fly on these Fredericks. Denver versus San Diego.
Denver.
No question. San Francisco versus Seattle.
After the way San Fran played last week, I'm going to go with Seattle. And they look very strong anyway.
Yeah, San Fran will be probably mathematically eliminated if they lose this game. So I like Seattle
and
also.
And it's in Seattle, so they got the 12th man.
The 12th man and the Legion of Boom. I like them. Sunday night game, over Thanksgiving, Philly just beat down Dallas. Do you think that there's revenge or that Philly is going to beat them at home?
I think because it's in Philly, I always like home field advantage. Philly just looks strong offensively, defensively. They're getting the job done most of the time. I'm gonna go with Philly.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Philly also. I think that they had a bitter taste in their mouth after really getting beat down by Seattle. Last but not least, Monday Night Football, Saints and Bears.
I'm gonna go with the Saints. We've talked about this over the last couple of weeks. The Bears they're hit or miss, and I'm tired of waiting around for the Bears to play up to their potential. I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Okay, the Saints are my favorite multiple personality team. Which Saints are going to show up? The one where Drew Brees throws five touchdowns,
yeah.
or they look like they were a junior high team against Carolina. So we have it there, Freddie. Before we leave, we're at the 1 minute warning now. Which coach do you think's seat is burning the most?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously, Rex Ryan is gone. That's a no-brainer.
I think that his seat burnt through. This is just that he can't even sit down anymore.
It's standing room only for the New York Jets. I think the Giants, Coughlin. I think he retires. Who do you see? In the hot seat?
I see the Giants. I see Tom Coughlin. As I agree with you, Rex Ryan. No matter what happens with Atlanta, I think that Mike Smith is gone. Taking a look, the Washington Redskins, questionably, is Jay Gruden going to make it more than 1 year? I really don't know. And hot seat, believe it or not, one of the most coveted coaches in the league is Jim Harbaugh. I don't see him back at San Francisco.
I don't see him at San Francisco. We can possibly see him in New York. We could possibly see him. Either way, New York.
I see him going across the bridge to Oakland.
Oakland is another strong favorite.
Oakland right now. So Tony Soprano will be gone. I'm happy that he got his second win. He probably got about 5 wins when he was a head coach in about 4 years. Kenny, thank you on the other side of the glass. Thank you, our listening audience. Our signature sponsor, Gift of Life, will be here. Same time, same place next week. Everybody have a good week. Good luck in fantasy, and God bless.
Good night.
Strike three. You're out.
Thank you for listening to First and Goal with Gregg and Freddy J. Today's show brought the latest opinion of our hosts, and they welcome any comments and thoughts by calling or writing to Freddy Jr. at amp2.tv. That's Freddy Jr. at amp2.tv. Write in and win a chance to have your comments read on the air. Today's show was brought to you by Gift of Life Bone Marrow Foundation. Be a donor and share the gift of life.
It's a long fly ball.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not